Hello, hello, and welcome to Community TV. This is TV for you by TV from me, and this is where I talk to all sorts of interesting and unusual people in the local community who are doing amazing things to help the world around them. And today we have got the amazing and probably one of the most unusual guests on My Time TV, Community TV with Adaire, that we have ever had. And his name is Professor Flint. Now, Professor Flint is a paleontologist and entertainer extraordinaire. He has dedicated his life to sharing and showing us why paleontology is, or should be, if you don't think it is, the number one discipline in the world. And that's in caps. And I'm going to ask him why he thinks that. So join us today to find out why it's so important and other amazing, juicy goodness about paleontology, rocks and bones. Hello.
Hello.
Flint, how are you?
It's bones, by the way.
Bones.
So when you say it, like try duck face. So bones.
Bones. You know, my sister goes, don't do the duck face, you're too old for that. But I'm going, hey, we're talking about dinosaurs and fossils today, so
that's right.
And
given that birds are dinosaurs, so a duck is a dinosaur, so you're actually doing dinosaur face.
Whoa,
so
dinosaur face.
You tell her.
Hang on. I'm not sure I like that. It might be all right if you're 9.
I think it's all right if you're 99 as well. Just saying.
Bones.
Yeah. That was.
I feel like a wolf howling at the moon. We've got Theone has been here, but she's gone. She said she'll be at work, but has shared she knows a few teachers and parents who would be interested. And we've got Jenny here as well. If you are in the audience, please say hi. If you have any questions.
Jenny.
If you have any.
Hello, everybody in the world.
Any questions for Professor Flint, please do not hesitate to ask. Now, I have to say that you were a guest at our home on the weekend, and you did entertain us admirably for our son's 17th birthday. And I think that's probably the oldest birthday party, of the oldest person's birthday party that you've had. Is that correct?
Actually, I've actually done a 90th birthday at the museum, the South Australian Museum. So 17's probably, I mean, it's certainly outside but this is the point that I'll keep on making. I mean, dinosaurs and prehistory is fascinating to all of us. You know, whether you're 5 or 10 or 17 or 90, it's the story of the place where we live. It's the story of who we are. And while I get to hang out with lots of other paleontologists, and I all know that much, the public really don't know a great deal. And even when it comes to our own prehistoric story.
Can I say that there are no dumb questions?
That's right.
Is that true?
Although I don't know. I've been watching Parliament a bit this week, so maybe there are.
Stay away from politics.
Yes,
so,
good.
Tell me why is paleontology the number one discipline above all other disciplines?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? We've got dinosaurs. We've got dinosaurs. No other science has dinosaurs. But on a serious note, I mean, look, all sciences are fascinating and important, and I love paleontology because it is that science of the history of life on Earth. And it's not just dinosaurs. It's the animals that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs that are not dinosaurs. It's the animals before that. It's the animals after that. It's the plants. It's the ecosystems of the past. And all of those things are about who we are. The other cool thing, of course, about paleontology is that it's actually a science that young kids are interested in. And so for me, one of its importances is as a gateway science. If you want to introduce physics, geology, chemistry, maths, any of those subjects, you can use paleontology to do that. And it gives a practical edge to it. and a sense of this cool area of stuff from dinosaurs to all the other prehistoric life forms that we see. So I think it's important because it's such a, I mean, it's just really cool.
Just really cool. I like that. It's dinosaurs are just really cool. I like it because it is, well, it's definitely something that is, this, the oldest one, like you said. But it's what some of the stuff that you shared with us on the weekend was really quite fascinating. And while we know the standard like Jurassic Park stuff, there was so much that we didn't actually know that was relevant to today. And one of those things that maybe I didn't listen at school about actually birds being dinosaurs. That was something that blew me away.
And look, it was thought a long time ago that birds and dinosaurs were like cousins, but the research in the last 20 years, and again, this is a great example of why science is so cool. You uncover new research, you make new discoveries, and you go, well, we used to think they were that, but now we can see that they are much more within the group. They sit within the group of reptiles called dinosaurs. And you look at things like T-Rex, Deinonychus, Velociraptor, they had wishbones. You look at the feet of a cassowary or an emu as they walk, and their legs, and you see the reptilian nature of their legs. And you compare that, and you look at the legs and feet of T-Rex, Australovenator, an Australian dinosaur, and you say, it's like, well, they've got the same kind of feet, haven't they? Hollow bones. So there are all of these things that, and again, this is a great example of science and its methodologies, is that it's lots of different bits of evidence that have brought us to this place. It's not just one bit of evidence. It's not just, oh, they've got hollow bones. It's like, no, hollow bones, wishbones, all of these things that birds have. The only living animals that have a wishbone, birds. And all birds have wishbones. The theropod dinosaurs had wishbones. And you look at the feathered fossils that we found in China, again, particularly in the last 20 years, and it's extraordinary and fascinating and helps. I often talk about paleontology being like doing jigsaw puzzles, except you don't have all of the pieces and you don't have the picture on the front of the box. You might have one or two pieces. And your job is to work out from those one or two pieces what the whole picture looks like.
So I was going to ask about Australian dinosaurs. You did mention it before, and you said that we do look outside of our own backyard, and there's lots of fascinating stuff right here.
There absolutely is, and not just Australian dinosaurs, but here in South Australia, we don't get a lot of dinosaur fossils because a lot of the land was covered by oceans, but we get plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs. We get lots of extraordinary things before the age of the dinosaurs, and lots of cool things like giant wombats and giant kangaroos after the age of the dinosaurs. So, but I often go to schools or to events and I say, okay, you give me the name of an Australian dinosaur, and they reel through T-Rex, Triceratops, Brachiosaur, all of those things. It's like, nope. And all of those animals are cool. All of them are fascinating. T-Rex is an extraordinary dinosaur, possibly hunted in packs, was quite smart, amazing eyesight. So sorry, Jurassic Park, wrong again. If you stand there and don't move, you're going to be in its belly within a few seconds. So, but it's still very rare for somebody to be able to go, oh yeah, Australian dinosaur, Minmi, Australovenator, Diamantinosaurus, a whole gamut of dinosaurs that we find. So part of my mission, and it's we've learned it over the years, is the importance of our own prehistoric story, and not just the dinosaurs. I mean, in South Australia alone, we've got the first big complex life.
What does that mean?
So for most of the 3 billion years of history of life on Earth, everything was tiny little microbes, tiny little like blobbit, like slime kind of stuff. The Ediacarans named.
I was going to say something, but I won't. Go on.
It's probably best. The Ediacarans named after the Ediacaran Hills, and it's the only geological time period named after something in the southern hemisphere, and it's named after the hills just up the road in the Flinders Ranges, and that's I think really important, and we need to be really proud of that. But there's a particular fossil there called Spragina, and it looks to have the appearance of a head. It looks to perhaps be maybe first fossil evidence of an animal with a head and a brain. So these kind of extraordinary things we have. And Spragina, which is that animal, is the state fossil emblem. Now, that was only declared a couple of years ago, so people are still kind of learning about that. But it's all of these things, I think, when we start exploring our story and you think about like, where you're sitting right there, or where your viewers are sitting, whether they're in Australia or somewhere else. What prehistoric critter was sitting or swimming or sliding across the place where you are right now, but maybe 100,000 years ago, maybe 1,000,000 years ago, maybe 500 million years ago? What in whose footprints do you also walk? So for me, paleontology, it's about so many things, but very much about understanding who we are and where we've come from.
So here on the Adelaide Plains, we're in the foothills. Would we have been underwater in that time?
At various times, yes. Yeah.
So,
yes. But also we had giant wombat called sort of wombat-y sort of thing, called a diprotodon. We find them at Barra. We find them at Naracoke Caves. We found bones of a diprotodon down at Halleck Cove. So okay, these animals lived here. In Adelaide. They also quite possibly lived here when the first people arrived here, the Ghana people. So, and we don't know a great deal about those interactions, but that's part of the fascinating stuff that we look at, learning about human and some of these animal interactions. Because we know that the megafauna were around maybe, as recently as 30 or 40,000 years ago. People have been in Australia for, 50, 60,000 years.
Yeah.
So it's all part of that web of uncovering and revealing the story of this place, or whatever place it is that you live in.
So Jenny has asked, and I know Jenny is from Adelaide, and so is Roz, or she's from not far, she's up the Coorong. But she's asking for what about the Australian dinosaur now? What animals would we recognise? Now, you did mention the giant kangaroo and the giant wombat.
So, okay, the thing to remember is they're not dinosaurs. So they're animals that came after the
oh, okay, that's
dinosaur.
yeah.
So we refer to them as megafauna. So the giant wombats. Other than an animal like Genionis, which is a giant duck-like animal. So, I mean, it's a dinosaur, but it's a dinosaur because it's a bird. But it's not from the 66 million years ago Cretaceous, Jurassic, Triassic period. So, the other thing to remember is that when we're talking about things like the giant wombats and the giant kangaroos, is that the other animals that we see around now, the kangaroos and the wombats, they were around as well. So red kangaroos and numbats and wombats and all of those things lived at the same time as these megafauna. Also, when we talk about the megafauna, think Ice Age. If they were to make an Ice Age movie about Australian animals, these are the animals that we would be looking at. And anybody that's been to the Naracoke Caves would have seen, Thylacoleo. It's a giant scissor-toothed possum kind of koala thing.
Yes, I've been down there. I've seen it, and I remember Darty was the only one who remembers the name of it until you said it.
He did. On his birthday. He remembered. He said, "Oh, Thylacoleo Carnifex." I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
So he would have gone straight to the head of the class.
Absolutely, but young people are such a cool audience as well, which is why I like working with them, because they're honest, they remember stuff. If they don't like you, they'll just get up and go away. As adults, we tend to sit and go, okay, yeah, we better pay attention. It's like, no, you don't. No, if you don't like it, get up and leave.
Oh, no, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. He's still talking about it. So, I did have a question from Wayne, and he should be, I thought he was going to be typing in here, but since he hasn't, he should be out there watching, because he's, anyway, if he's queued up, if he's not playing nice, he'll be in trouble. But what I wanted to ask you, and when you brought Lucy out, do you have Lucy there?
I do.
Lucy is not Australian.
This is not Australian, and it's not the real Lucy, because it turns out that's probably priceless, and they wouldn't let me. But it's a replica. It's a cast.
Yes, yes, we sort of figured that.
Yeah, and what it does is it gives you an opportunity to take something on the road so that people can see it, because actual Lucy would be very secure. Actual Lucy is in a place where not many people get to see it. And so it's good to have a look at it. And so, yeah, so what's the question about Lucy?
Well, I'd hazard a guess and say the actual Lucy looks very, very, very much like the one that you hold in your hand.
Yes, it does.
And I would also, and one of the things that I don't think you said, or you may have said, but I may have just been laughing at something else you said about where Lucy came from and why Lucy is important in this conversation.
Yeah, so Lucy was found kind of in Ethiopia back in the mid 1970s, and looks to be about, and I had to look up just to double check after we'd been at the birth party, looks to be about 3.2 million years old. And there were lots of different ways that you can work that out. You know, you can date the rock within which near where Lucy was found. The interesting question, of course,
we do have a question
Lucy,
here from My Time TV, and I suspect that's Wayne. Is Lucy the first human?
Is Lucy the first human? Lucy maybe, or maybe, well, not the first human, because it's a not quite the way that a paleontologist would describe it. You don't suddenly go from being one thing to another to another to another to another, and it's like, oh, this ape-like ancestor gave birth to a human. So it's a continuum. It is probable. Well, there's a couple of possibilities. One is that Lucy is a direct ancestor. One is that she's an aunt as opposed to a direct ancestor, and that her descendants, if she had any, died out. So it's sometimes difficult to place particular individuals precisely within the family tree. But clearly Lucy is a hominid. Clearly Lucy is one of the group from which we seem to have come. But whether she is direct ancestors...
so you called her a what? Hominid? A hominid?
Hominid. So, hominid.
Okay. Now, Lucy won't be offended at being called a hominid?
No, not at all. A hominid is a human-like ape creature. So us, we're hominids. So yeah.
Okay.
So but also we know, for example, that Neanderthals. The interesting thing we've learned about Neanderthals in the last 15, 20 years is that as some humans, early humans, migrated out of Africa, they across Europe, they interbred with Neanderthal DNA, and it used to be thought that DNAs were dum-dums and stuff. And it's like, well, actually, we're learning much more about that. And there seems to be quite a complex history of hominids, both in Africa and other parts of the world. So our story is quite complex, and that's part of the fun. So it's about paleontologists can look at some of that stuff, but it's also all the other animals. Dinosaurs. That's dinosaurs. I might say dinosaurs again.
You might say dinosaurs again. If you... you have a thing for dinosaurs. How did this... Oh, my God, what is that? Show me a dinosaur. That's a
toy T-Rex. Now, this toy T-Rex has kind of got little feathers and fluff on it. And instead of standing upright, it's standing long ways like that. And these are some of the things that we've learned through computers, through new fossils and things. It's like, right, was T-Rex fully feathered as a grown-up? Probably not, but quite possibly when T-Rex was little, it might have been a little bit fluffy to keep it warm. But we know velociraptors, for example, were covered in feathers as grown-ups. Anyway, where were we?
Where were we? Well, no, I was just going off with T-Rex there for a moment. So in terms of South Australia, you were saying there were plesiosaurs. So I'm just thinking that, and I could be corrected on this if my brothers see this, but my dad found an opal fossil of a plesiosaurus up in Cooperpedia, I believe. Is that
absolutely? Yep. So I was at Cooper PD School last year, and one of the things I did, I got the kids to sit on the ground in the classroom.
Oh, gee, great.
Now look up, I said. Above your heads, 70 million years ago, plesiosaurs would have swam right here, above your heads. Ichthyosaur. So an ichthyosaur looks a bit like a fish, which is, or it looks a little bit like a dolphin, which is a mammal, or a shark, which is a fish, but it's a reptile. So it's
not, hang on, so it's not a dinosaur.
No, not dinosaurs. So, hello, I've got a few more toys here. Plesiosaur.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, flippers, long neck. This is Elasmosaurus, which is a particular type, but flippers, long neck, but not a dinosaur. Part of the group of reptiles, yes, lived at the same time as the dinosaurs, but not a dinosaur.
Isn't that fascinating?
As that is. Well, that's a dinosaur. That's Australovenator. That's an Australian dinosaur. Everyone should have one.
So it looks. Let's have another look at that one because it looks very much like T-Rex. And where was that one?
Well, you see, to the untrained eye.
Well, that's right. That's why you're the paleontologist, and I'm the one here just making.
But we, like Australovenator, had 3 claws on each hand, quite significant claws. It's part of that broad group of theropods into which T-Rex and some of those others can fall, so they're similar, but there are also quite significant differences from claws to all kinds of other things. Yes. Oh.
Where do we get an Australadi dinosaur?
It's spelled Australovenator. If you're wanting to know, where can you get one from? So
I thought Roz was making stuff up.
There's a few. What's really interesting for me is there's more and more places that are going, hang on a minute, instead of having a T-Rex egg, we should have an egg that people can buy that's got an Australovenator in it or something like that. So the Australian Age of Dinosaurs in Queensland, where I got to spend some time on their Dinosaur Stampede website. It's in Winton, or just outside Winton, but they've also got a big museum because they found some dinosaurs on their farm a few years ago.
Is this it?
Australovenator, L-O-V-A-N-T-A, yeah, Lovenator.
Beautiful. Well done, Rob.
Age of Dinosaurs, and they have a really good list on their website as well of Australian dinosaurs, and you can buy them online from them. But there's places you can go to now. You can visit. You can go there. You can go to Lightning Ridge, where there's opalized dinosaurs. You can go to Naracoorte. You can go to, like Parachilna you get to learn about the story of the Ediacarans. So we're getting so much better. The South Australian Museum, of course. If you want to learn about the South Australian prehistoric story, absolutely go there. And, oh, by the way, first weekend of the school holidays in April, come and join us because we'll be singing some tunes and there'll be a whole bunch of things.
Rocks and bones.
Rocks and bones. Not singing that, no. But yeah, so there are lots of places now here in Australia that are starting to go, hang on a minute, let's make little fluffy diprotodons, giant wombats. Let's make our own cuddly toys. Let's merchandise our own story. And I think it's fantastic. As I say, T-Rex is great and often a gateway, but all this other stuff is fabulous.
I've been to Parachilna too. Have we got T-shirts for that? I've been to Parachilna. I've got.
It's pretty cool.
I did want to say that with this type of thing, you're making it sound, and I might be wrong, but you're making it sound like they're a dime a dozen. Or does this mean that there is a bit more sophisticated excavation work happening and more and more information being found? And
so we're getting, technology allows us to get much better at studying the things that we found, so we can scan things that we couldn't scan before. So you can look on the inside at more detail. We have you can print things, 3D print things, but you can print them bigger than you can. So you can pick them up and have a look on the inside and see what's in there and go, oh, I didn't realize it had a thing there. But look, both Adelaide and Flinders now, you can study paleo. That wasn't always the case. You would need to do geology or biology, and then you'd go and do an honours thing. But you can now study these things. And I think, again, that's part of the awareness. Here in Australia, I think we're at a time where we're wanting to learn, and I bring it back to this thing, wanting to learn who we are. And to learn who we are, we need to learn our history, and our full history. You know, the paleontological history, the history of Aboriginal Australia, and you know, which traverses 60,000 years. You know,
you did say on the weekend
extraordinary continuity, an extraordinary continuity of human habitation of this place, and how the land was managed. Now, that's outside my sphere of work, but it's fascinating to look at that and read about it and learn about it again, because this is the story of where we live.
But you were saying that there's crossover between the Indigenous people and the stories they tell and the discoveries that you're making in paleontology. I found that quite fascinating.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to listen to what elders might tell us when we discover, especially when we're looking at megafauna, and what those stories of the bones that we discover, that we uncover and are researching. You know, maybe there's some stories that elders can tell us. We know there's rock art that looks like it's Thylacoleo in parts of Australia. So I think, you know, learning science, it's important to also understand different ways of exploring these things, and listening to elders and their stories and what they can tell us, I think, can help tell us more about these animals that lived within. And I mean, ultimately for me, 60,000 years isn't a very long time ago. I mean, I deal with, you know, this is a fossil here. This is a trilobite from Emu Bay in Kangaroo Island that is 515 million years old. That's older. That's 500 million years old. So
wow.
So yeah.
That's old. We do have a couple of questions here. Roz has got these questions going like there's no tomorrow. Thank you, Roz. She's saying, is technology similar for finding the fossils as used in finding metals for mining and geology?
So paleontology and geology are great friends. I mean, you wouldn't use you know, those metal detectors. That wouldn't pick up anything. That's
none of them had gold in it.
Often to discover a fossil, firstly, understand the process of when something becomes a fossil, and it takes quite a long time, of course. You know, the thing has to be buried without getting eaten, and various like mineralization processes happen. And then it needs to get, you need to know, because you can't just walk along the street and start digging randomly in places. So often what happens is that somebody will be walking along, like David Elliott in Winton was walking along at his farm, and he had a look and he saw this bone sticking out. So weather plays a part in and erosion. So the thing that's been buried, a little bit might, after a few years, get stuck out, get sticks out, and so you then start digging around that area. In Victoria, there's a place where you can go where, depending on the tide, will determine whether or not you can dig, and they find a lot of prehistoric whale stuff there. But what's interesting is that the water from the tide coming in and out will also wash away some layers over time, so it reveals more stuff. So it's often just a question of, and or little, like kids. A kid might be walking along and go, "Oh, what's that there?" and find. So always keep your eyes open.
Yes, you never know. It might be a nugget of gold too, or
the thing to remember, every rock that you see, whether it's in your garden or whether you're in the Flinders Ranges walking around or wherever you are, every piece of rock, every piece of dust got there somehow.
Yes.
You know, and paleontology and geology is all about the stories in the rocks. One of my favourite times was going up to Akarola and with a couple of South Australia's leading geologists, and the degree to which they were able to tell me the story in rocks that are hundreds of millions of years as we're walking past, because they obviously understand the processes, much better than I do. But it's that stuff, the stories are everywhere.
This is fascinating, and I know that you've got a wealth of information that you've got tucked away in that head, and we've got about 2 minutes. I'm going to ask one more question from the audience, and I suspect it's Wayne posing as My Time TV, and he wants to know, this will have to be the 30-second version, is there a close link between paleontology and anthropology?
We're good friends, yes.
And, friends. I mean, you're not married.
Anthropology. So I suppose, yes. I mean,
did you hear that? There was a dinosaur outside my window.
Good.
It's disguised as a Murray magpie.
Well, it's not a disguise at all. It just is. So yeah, anthropology is much more to do with human behavior, I think, and stuff. But so paleo is about and customs and culture and stuff. So whereas paleontology is about the living things. So there is absolutely a connection and a place where both kind of hang out and talk to each other.
Okay, now just really quickly, Roz has said, are we technically breathing the same air as millions and billions of years ago, that the dinosaurs breathed?
Yeah. And you probably some of the water in your veins that flows probably was once dinosaur wee. The iron in your blood comes from exploding stars, because that's how science and the universe is made.
We are all supernovas.
So we're all made of the things that exploding stars are made of. So, but yeah, it's fascinating when you start looking at where all this stuff and the connections and things. So yeah. My brain needs time to process that. Just one more comment from Roz. It just says, so more to do with observation as we move around on Earth, not so much technology to discover fossils. So in terms of discovering, it's absolutely observation. But also, there are places which are you're more likely to find fossils. So prehistoric creek beds, prehistoric waterways and stuff. So, but you often the first discovery in a location is that accidental. Oh, there's a thing there.
Yeah. So, and then I guess then people go, well, that's really interesting. Let's go and find out some more about that area.
Dig around it and let's dig some more.
And uncover more.
Like with the folk in Britain. You end up with a museum.
Yeah, not with the museum. Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Professor Flint, we are out of time right now. I would like to thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom. And every time we speak, I do learn some more things. And it wasn't because I wasn't listening on Saturday. It was probably all the sugar I consumed. So
yeah.
There is that. So I'm just going to thank you very much. I'll just drop you into the green room or the lobby. Don't go anywhere. I'll wind this up and we can have a quick chat afterwards. So
and thank you for having me, and thank you for people for their interest in their story.
Yes, and please share away for this broadcast, because I'm sure that there are a lot more people who will be fascinated in what you have to say. Just quickly before we go, the first weekend of the holidays.
First weekend of the April school holidays, so 13th, 14th. Definitely, I'll be singing some tunes, and there'll be lots of amazing activities as well.
Beautiful. All right, and that'll be on your page, Dinosaurs Down Under?
Dinosaurs Down Under on Facebook, yes.
Okay, so comment Dino to connect with Professor Flint. So you'll get a message in your inbox that will take you, click on the link, it will take you straight to his page, and you can connect there and be kept up to date with whatever's happening. Thank you very much, Professor Flint. I'll see you in a moment. Don't go anywhere. What an amazing man. Well, thank you so much, Professor Flint, for sharing your amazing knowledge on paleontology. And we didn't even get to see the poo. We got to see poo on Saturday, but that's okay. We will have Professor Flint back at another time. I'm Adaire Palmer. This is Community TV with Adaire on mytimetv.live. And we'll see you here Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Australian Central Daylight Time for all things that are of interest to you in your life. Bye for now.